Hi guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video. I hope you're all well and safe. So if you are an old subscriber, welcome back. But if you are new to this channel, then I make a lot of bookish content here. So if you are a book lover or would like to become one, do hit that subscribe button and don't forget to press the bell icon. So in today's video, I am going to review a book which was sent to me by the author, and that book is The Beautiful Sky by Harshwardhan. So let's get started with the review. The Beautiful Sky by Harshwardhan is a book that has a lot of things going on. It is very difficult to assign one single genre to this book because it has a lot of elements from a lot of different genres. So this is a story about Vian and Amira. Now to be honest, Vian is the central character of this story, but Vian's life revolves around Amira. So in that way she is also a central character, plus the events in the story are very much related to her as well, because Vian and Amira are in a very happy relationship together and they are going to get married. But tragedy strikes, and 1 week before their marriage, Amira is sexually violated by a group of men, and that completely shatters their world. Amira survives this horrific experience, but she is obviously left completely traumatized, and Vian decides that even if he is not going to end up with Amira, he will still do everything in his power to help her because he is very dedicated to her. So one thing that is important to mention is that this book is for readers over the age of 18 years. At this point itself, I would like to give you a trigger warning here because this book deals with the topic of sexual violation. Another very important thing to mention about this book is the way it has been written. The language is English, yes, but it has a lot of shairi in it, and then there are a lot of dialogues in this book as well, which are also in Hindi. It has both English and Hindi, both written in the same script. Vian really wants to help Amira after her traumatic experience, and whether or not he's going to be successful in doing that will end up affecting his own life and own destiny too. Now I will talk about the most sensitive topic in this book first, which is Amira's sexual violation and how it has been dealt with. Now Amira's traumatic experience has been dealt with through Vian's character in this book. Even though Amira is an important character, the protagonist of the story is Vian, and the story talks about how Vian tries to help Amira after her traumatic experience. Vian's character is shown to be very sensitive, very considerate, very caring, patient and understanding, helping Amira through her trauma even when she clearly resists him. So from that point of view, this book has dealt with this topic with a lot of care. Apart from that, some graphic descriptions of what happened with Amira have been included in this book, and needless to say, they were extremely difficult for me to get through and altogether a very unpleasant experience. This book moves back and forth in time. For example, when the story opens, the year is 2021, but then the story keeps going back in time as well, sometimes 2013, 14, 15, 16 and so on. So because of that, the pace of your reading this book automatically slows down. This book is an easy to read book, don't get me wrong, but it is definitely not fast because of this. My interest in this story was moderate initially. It kept on increasing, but the increase was gradual. For example, every 50 pages or so, because something new would happen during these 50 pages and then I would get more curious. It was only after 230 pages that I got completely invested in the story. Now talking about the things that I liked in this book. So Vian is a very firm believer of law of attraction, and I really liked how diligently he follows it. He visualizes everything he wants to happen. He takes it very seriously, and that gave me hope. So that made me happy. For the most part, you get quite sad and upset with the events in the story, but overall, this is still a story of hope. So I feel that is a positive thing about this book. And apart from that, I liked reading about Vian's friendship with Pratik and Pranay because they share a really good friendship, and true friendships are rare to come by. So I always love reading about great friendships. And then thirdly, I also found one aspect of this book to be quite amusing, to be honest. So Vian is a big fan of an author called Author Pran, who's a fictional author, and Author Pran has written a fictional book called A Good Boyfriend is a Terrible Ex-Boyfriend. In fact, Vian is so influenced by this book that all through this story, The Beautiful Sky, quotes from this fictional book keep popping up. I mean, depending on Vian's situation, these quotes were extremely amusing to read. So this book also includes romance, and it's like a very important part of this book because this book talks about the relationship between Vian and Amira. Now their relationship goes through a lot of ups and downs. Now that is something that you can read the book to find out. What I want to specifically talk about here is that they get intimate with each other, and those intimate scenes have been described in this book, and they have been described explicitly. The reason I mention this specifically is that a lot of readers have very strong opinions on such intimate scenes in a book. The scenes are quite explicit and they have been written very informally. There are a lot of college scenes in this book because there are a lot of hostel scenes, there are a lot of interactions between friends, there are a lot of interactions between Vian and Amira. And one thing to know about the way this book has been written, it has a lot of slangs and it has a lot of profanities as well. Now personally, these things don't bother me that much, but they can bother certain readers, so I have to mention this as well. A lot of dialogues are in Hindi, as I told you. So if I talk about the Hindi dialogues, I'll just say that as somebody who is able to understand Hindi, it was not a problem for me because I was able to understand the story. But from the point of view of uniformity, it was definitely disconcerting. Shairi or shares form a big part of this book because Vian is a poet and his journey has been expressed a lot through shairi, and that's just how the story progresses. Some of them were definitely amusing, some of them were profound, and some of them just didn't work for me. Now I'm going to comment on the editing of this book. So I am going to leave the shairi part out of this. I am going to leave the Hindi dialogues part out of this. I will also leave the English dialogues out. The reason I'm leaving the dialogues out is because I feel that characters can have a certain way of speaking and delivering dialogues. So in terms of that, there is definitely room for flexibility there. As far as the English narration is concerned, it definitely could have done with better editing because there were grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, and definitely wrong sentence constructions. So this book could have done with some refinement in that area. Had this book been edited properly, the writing style in itself would have been decent in my opinion. Two things that I found to be very relatable in this book were, number one, the fact that Indian middle class youngsters have to really struggle when it comes to achieving their dreams, and they really have to keep the practicality of their choices in mind, which can feel like an entrapment. Another relatable thing in this book was the topic of mental health because it deals with that as well. Overall, my experience of reading this book was full of so many emotions. I felt uncomfortable, I felt triggered, I felt sad, hopeful, happy, I smiled, sometimes I laughed as well. So a whole lot was happening while reading this book, and sometimes I was more invested, sometimes I was less invested, but I always wanted to reach the end of the story. So my overall experience of reading this book was full of ups and downs. So that was my review of The Beautiful Sky by Harshwardhan. I had so much to say about this book because it had so much going on. Anyway, if you want to check this book out, the link for that will be in the description box. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.